Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we encourage you, and boy, today are we going to inspire and educate you to another level. We have a dear guest, brother of mine, friend of mine, very knowledgeable, successful entrepreneur, and I couldn't wait to get him on our show. He turned me down not once, not twice, not three times, but 20 times. I'm just kidding. I'm being exaggerating, but I love this guy. Welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, Mr. Ruben Alvarez, brother. How you doing today, man?
Oh man, I am fantastic. And you know what? Anybody who maybe is hearing this for the first time or hearing your voice or anything, they say it's all about proximity, and you are who you hang out with, and it's the top 5 people and everything. And I think that people need to be hanging around you, man, because like it's nothing but blessings, dude. Nothing but blessings when they're around you. So thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you, man. I'm excited. I know the amazing person you are. We actually broke bread here in San Antonio about 2 months ago. Introduce yourself, please, to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
Yeah, so I am the founder and CEO of the Marketing Hunters. We started it 3 years ago, and where we are right now is just incredible. I think if you have a really good vision and understand branding and how to position yourself in front of people and how to carry yourself, a lot can be done within a little bit of years. So we have that, and then I was became an author not too long ago, working on number two. First book is Tim Story gave us a really good recommendation and a shout out on the book that you can read, which is super awesome. And finally, we throw some events here in town. We call them Thrive in Your City. Featured on Forbes very recently, but not regular Forbes, Mexican Forbes, which was super awesome for me because my mom finally understands what the hell I'm doing. Uh, so just a little bit of everything, just a little bit of everything, trying to encourage and inspire as well, especially for the Latinos, to let them know that really anything is possible.
I love what you said, and just let's start off there. I just came back from our event. We had our Makings of a Millionaire Mind Boot Camp 2-day event. It was amazing, and someone said, Daniel, I gotta say, I was impressed by the event, the pictures that I saw, but I was more impressed because it gives Mexican people, Hispanics, Latinos a chance to believe bigger.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? She's like, Daniel, like they need that. They need that inspiration to know that there is no barrier to what anyone can do, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Latino, whatever you call yourself. But I think somewhere, especially here where I'm from in San Antonio and in Texas, it's like sometimes we put our own limitations
Oh yeah.
on what we can do. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Right? San Antonio, right? Mexican Americans ain't a minority. We're actually the majority, but in reality, we're the minority. But I tell people, don't buy into that story because it's all in your mind right here. What makes you not limit yourself, Ruben? Because I want our people. This is for everybody, right? But I want people to understand, like, whether you're black, white, Mexican, Latino, Puerto Rican, whatever you're. So many times we put a label on ourselves that puts that lid on who we are.
Yeah. Well, check it out. So here's the funniest thing about the limits. I think that you are only limited when you accept the limit that you have in front of you, right? And a lot of times we know that that limit is there. And I'll put it into perspective. So when I was younger, I saw what my dad was making, right? He was making 50,000 a year, and I was like, dude, I want to reach 50,000 a year. And I was like, I want to reach it when I'm 21, I think is what I said. So I went into culinary degree, and I was like, I'm not going to make that here. And so then therefore that was my first limit. I was like, I can't make it here. I'm going to go somewhere else. I ended up making 50,000 a year when I was 25 years old. Okay. Once I reached 50,000, I was like, what the hell am I going to do? Because I didn't, the highest I knew was 50, right? Like I didn't know people making 100. I didn't know people making 200, a million. I knew I wanted to make a million eventually, right? But like when you get to that point, I think you have to reach these thresholds. And when you reach them, you can either just go, oh, well, 50 is enough, or I'll just make 55 and then I'll just get like the raises and, maybe I'll go into sales and then I'll just get that $10,000 bonus at the end of the year if I reach my goals, and you get stuck there. And so you really have to think like, if I want to reach 100, I need to talk to somebody that makes 100, right?
Oh,
And
that
most
was
people
so
will go,
good.
well, I don't know anybody. And they'll just stop there versus trying to go out there and finding people that have the answers that you don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a part of the show where I tell you, get out your pen, get out your paper, and take some darn notes because Ruben's going to drop some massive wisdom. Remember, what you write down, over 50% of what you write down, you retain in your subconscious mind. So take notes, take a lot of notes because you definitely want to get out your pen and paper on this one. I love what you said. You know, one of the beliefs I remember when I was younger, this gentleman, his name was Joe. We were at his house. I went and picked up something because we used to work out together at the gym, Racquetball Fitness. And we were just talking. He goes, "Yeah, I'm thinking about taking this job." And I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Well, what's the reason you want to take the job?" He goes, "Well, his belief system was this." And you kind of triggered me with what you said is that he says, "As long as I'm making my age and salary, I'm
Mhm.
good." I said, "Okay, tell me more." He goes, "Yeah, well, if I'm 40, if I'm making 40,000, I'm doing good. If I'm making 42 at 42 years old, 42,000, and then if I'm hit 50,000 at 50, I'm doing good." And when I listened to that, I said, "Well, that sounds good, right? I guess it's a good aim, right, to get you where you're going." But I look back now to what you just said. I'm like, man, that's nothing. Imagine being 40 years old making $40,000 a year. Imagine, and I was like, well, I'm kind of on pace because I think at the time I was like 23 years old and maybe pushing 26,000. I was like, well, you know, I'm ahead of the game 3 years, so I
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah.
But let me ask you this: Do you I think one of the lies that we buy into ourselves to that limit us, to your point exactly, you hit, right, 55,000, just to say you hit that. What's your perception on this? Is that you start making 55,000, maybe even 60, just to say 60. And this is the excuse that I feel that we make sometimes as business people and entrepreneurs. Well, I'm doing better than my parents did. I'm
Yeah.
okay. And then they stop there. Do you
Yeah.
ever see that?
Oh yeah, no, I did. It's you know what? I think maybe other people have put it into perspective, right? Like I know Eric Thomas talks about this a lot, but there's a part of me that always felt like my grandmother did the best that she could, but like she was beaten by my grandpa the whole time, right? And then like eventually she left him and she came over here and started living with her kids, right? Like I was like, wow, she actually took some initiative, right? Like said, no more. I hate this. Let's stop doing this, right? Mom came over here when I think she was like 18 or 19 by herself. Worked like the grape fields and stuff like that. Could have been bitten by, like she said, she always saw like snakes there. I'm like, okay, so these people survived. You know what I mean? Like these people survived. Can't even think of like my ancestors before that, right? Like fighting lions and tigers and big old snakes and everything like that. But they survived for me to be here right now. And so when you think like, oh, okay, well, I'm doing better than my parents, it's like that's not really much. You know what I mean? Like in the perspective of like what they've done, okay, so I'm making a little bit more money than them. It's like, no, like you should make a lot more money than them. You should be buying them houses and stuff like that, right? So I think that that's where people get the perception wrong. It's like I am doing better. Okay, cool. Like I graduated, right? But it's like you have so much more than they had for you to say I just graduated. Like that's really not enough to honor all the sacrifices that they did.
Yeah. So what you're saying, listen to what Ruben's saying, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you're making an excuse right now to yourself. That's your excuse to you as well. I'm doing better than my mom. I'm doing better than my dad. I'm doing better than XYZ. But to Ruben's point is this is a mind hack you need to hear. You have a better foundation than they did. You have a better opportunity. You were set up to do so much more. And yet, with the foundation that you've been given, are you really utilizing that? That's what Ruben's saying right there. Think about that. I can relate with that because I remember when I was younger, I would work the field, man. It's hot, it sucks. You're out there doing the weeds and all this stuff in the cotton fields, and it's no fun. What do you think, in your wisdom, what are two things that helped you break through those limitations, Ruben, in your own mind, in your own thinking?
Well, I always attribute it to this, and I'm not gonna cuss in this episode, but usually we can use our imaginations for what I would have said, right? But here's the thing: if you really think about it, like an illustration point, right? If you are someone who is literally choosing to eat crap every day, right, and pretending that it's not, that makes you crazy. But if one day you're eating it and one day you're just like, you know what, I really don't like this, and there's other food out there, and I'm gonna go find the other food, and I'm gonna find a way to actually eat real food because I'm tired of eating this and I'm trying to pretend that it's not. that is something that really made me open up my eyes, is like, you can blame the system all you want, but if you're at a job making minimum wage and pretending you can't get more, like, that's on you. Like, you're the crazy person, right? So I think that since we've been talking so much about like limiting beliefs and everything, there's a certain point in your life where you have to stop pretending that something is better than it is, just to make yourself feel better. Oh, I'm making 50,000 a year. And it's like, I think Grant Cardone says, like, you can make 400,000 a year. And it's like, how do you live on that? How do you live on 4 million? Blah, blah, right. And the reality is, like, how do you really live on 50,000 a year, especially with inflation right now? 50,000 is probably like what 30,000 was 10 years ago. Right. And
Yes.
so it's like, especially in these bigger cities, right? Like, even if you're living in Mississippi, in the middle of Mississippi, not even in one of the big cities, yeah, you could probably make it on 30,000, right? 50,000. In any big city, you buy a house nowadays, 300,000, like, you're already more than half of your salary. So it's
Yes.
just not possible anymore. And I think that you have to wake up to the reality of, is this really good for me, or am I just pretending that it's good for me because I don't want to work a little harder, right? And so that was one of the things. And then I guess for second one was, I've always had this instilled belief that anybody can do whatever they really want to do. Like, that is the reality, right? Like, and people go, oh no, people in Nigeria and this and that, right? And there's even this example of this guy that went to America's Got Talent somewhere. I can't remember what it was, somewhere in Europe. I think it might have been like in England. And they're like, oh, where'd you come from? And he's like, Nigeria. And he's like, I had to cross rivers. And like, he gave his whole story, right? But like, literally, he left Nigeria, but he made it happen, right? And I think he won, or he got like top two or three. Dude's famous now. So there's always excuses, but realistically, you can do anything. And just because you
Wow.
want to put an example of somebody else in a third world country, even they will call you out on your BS.
Well, I like what you said earlier because you said you hit 50,000. To make 100,000, you got to go out there and put yourself in that environment, that opportunity to meet people in that. What is something someone can do, right? I think for me, when I left the automotive industry, I was running automotive dealerships, very successful, and it hurt me, right? I think so many times people don't see that your new life is going to cost you your old life,
hmm
and they want to hold on to their old life, but yet they
Yeah.
want to gravitate towards the new, and it doesn't work that way. What did you do to really release yourself to say from that $50,000 a year crowd to hit that 100,000, and eventually now you have your own business and you're just crushing it, man.
Yeah, I would say that you definitely need the right people around you, because so something that happened was 7 years into this company that I was working at, the owner sold the company. I thought I was gonna make partner, sells the company. I was like, man, that sucks, right? And so I the reality is that when you have trauma like that happen, right? Because for me it was trauma. I was like, man, this, all my dreams like just ripped, right? So I didn't know what to do for 2 or 3 months. I was like, what do I do? And an event came up, a conference, and I told my wife, like, hey, should I attend this conference? And it was to see Grant Cardone, right, in Phoenix. I was living in California, so I had to buy the plane ticket, plus I had to go, and expenses, hotel, everything. And she's like, yeah, go. And I was like, all right, cool. So I was gonna buy like the $250 ticket. It was $1,000 for VIP meet and greet. And I tell her, I'm like, what should I do? I just don't want to spend the money because I know we don't have it. And now we're like stuck even more because this company that bought us is like corporate. And she's like, just buy the $1,000. Like, just go. Like, when, and it's cheap. And I was like, I don't know, because it's too cheap. I don't know if I'm even gonna. She's like, just go meet him. I'm like, all right, cool. So I bought the 1,000. We went. Then I get a call, and it's a guy for coaching. And he's like, usually it's 10 grand. I'll do it for 3,500 or something like that. And I told my wife, and I was like, I don't know, but it sounds really good. He was on Grant Cardone's licensee team or whatever. And I'm like, he has the mindset. And I think that that's what I can learn from him. Again, she goes, you know what? Just take the risk, do it. And looking back, I think that that's the main thing, right? Without that push, I would have doubted myself. I might have gotten the $250 ticket, gone, oh, this is a waste of time. I didn't meet anyone. I was in the back, right? Like, everybody was, a realtor that just started off, doesn't even have their license or something like that, working insurance, trying to sell me insurance. Um, but we got the better ticket. We went, I got the coaching. Coaching kind of didn't work out. It taught me a few things, but it was through that push, right? Through that support, that things happen. And so to me, I would say you have to know who the right people are to be around, or else they're gonna create doubt. I hear it all the time. Why pay for coaching? And it's like, dude, everybody has a coach, every single person. Like, it's just one of those things.
I love what you just said. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Ruben just said. In a time of scarcity and lack, the business just got sold. He was expecting a different turnout, probably being a part in this business. But even though he wasn't sure and certain of the future, he was certain that he had to take a step of faith and bet on himself.
Mm.
When's the last time, ladies and gentlemen, that you listening to this or watching us here on YouTube, that you really, you bet on yourself? Or are you using the fact that, well, I can't afford it? So many people do that nowadays, and you can't be doing that to yourself. The blessing that God has for you is on the other side of that situation, that challenge, that problem is only sent to you to make you bigger, to make you stronger, to make you better. And I love, look, that the attitude that Ruben just had. I read it this morning, right? A thankful attitude opens up the heavens over you. We said again, a thankful attitude opens up the heavens over you. Listen to what Ruben said. He bought the ticket, $1,000 ticket, didn't take the cheap way out with 250, which probably I would have done 5 years ago. I'll be honest with you. And then he got coaching, but he got something out of coaching, but he didn't complain. It wasn't exactly what he wanted out of the coaching, but he said, well, it wasn't what I wanted, but let's keep going. And that's being thankful, because even though he took away maybe one nugget or whatever it was from this coach, he grew from there. Because now, guess what? Ruben has a belief system that it's okay to bet on yourself. It's okay to believe in yourself. And now, years later, he's just crushing it, man. Look at, dude, I'm just so proud of you, man, because it's like, I know I would watch you from afar on Instagram, and we kind of had some similar friends, but just really talking to you more on the phone and having dinner with you, it's just amazing what you've overcome. And I think I want people to understand from this episode that we're talking about up to this part is that really the only excuse that you have is the one that you're making. And if you really want to change your life, you can freaking change your life. And the beautiful thing is, like you said, it's one conference away or one event away or just one phone call away, but you have to decide to take action and invest in yourself sometimes. And sometimes, like it's what you're saying. Don't look at the fact, ladies and gentlemen, you got to buy a ticket, got to get this, do that. No, you got to do that. So you go to Grant Cardone, you do all these things. Where did your epic brand come from? That's what I want to talk about, because this is a part of the right. I just set the foundation. This is the foundation, right? This guy was a humble guy working for somebody, making 50,000. Then what? And many of us, especially my people, I'm talking to you Latinos out there, stop there. Don't stop. Keep freaking going.
Yeah.
And then you do that, and dude, now I love this what you are, because I kind of teach a little bit about branding to my business clients. Is like, dude, you're the brand. Why are so many people? I've been wanting to die to ask, get your perception.
Yeah.
Why are so many people scared to be the brand, Ruben? Talk to me about that. Come on, man, let's go.
100% ego. It's not even scared. It's just ego, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna look silly. Oh, I'm not that person, right? Like, oh, I'm scared. Like these are all excuses, but it's your ego telling you those things. It's not you telling you those things, right? Because so like the brand, right? Like where did it come from? And this will tie into like why people are so afraid of this. Whenever I thought of the brand and becoming the brand and everything, I always thought of like me running track and doing a 4-minute 30-mile, right? And or I would think of like unfortunately raving and doing drugs and doing like all these drugs that never killed me, right? Over drinking, right? All the times that I overdrank when I was younger and partying. And so I thought like, oh my God, like I have not died, right? I have I have not only not died, but I have conquered all these things. I was a sales manager for a $14 million company at age 25. And so when you start thinking of like, I am not able to die. I am favored, right? For one, I am favored because like, even though I say the things about the drugs and the alcohol, I'm not proud of them. You know what I mean? Like if I could go back, I probably wouldn't get as drunk. I wouldn't have risked it that much. You know what I mean? But it's like you don't know those things. But I was favored. And a lot of those times I'm like, man, I not once got caught by cops. I never got pulled over, right? So I had a bigger purpose, and I can see it every single time. When I was younger, I was gifted with being able to talk at the age of 12 in my the religion that I'm not in anymore, but I was giving public talks at age 12. So there was something there. And I think that most people forget that about themselves. They don't go back and think like, no, I was leading people when I was young. I was an athlete when I was young. I helped my mother through the divorce, right? I was there when my father wasn't there. I took care of my siblings. You know, I was for people who might be a little bit older. I've been a coach for kids soccer teams, and they love me, and I train them, and then they look up to me, right? And so you don't think of yourself that way, and therefore you're like, I am not the brand, I am not the face, it's the company. And it's like, no, when you realize how strong and powerful you really are, it's like, why would you not do that for other people? Why would you not become the voice or the inspiration for those people? Because you have a lot. I think you just need to get out of your own way.
That's so powerful. Let me ask you this: what made you come up with the brand that you have?
So it's evolution more than anything. The working at the $14 million company really showed me that you have to position things in a way, because we were selling to the same people over and over again, right? So therefore, if you only have the same customers, your stuff just has to look better. And so I started studying like Apple and all these things, and then I realized, okay, so we started the company and we're like, what are we gonna call it? Because that's a very very good name. And so we called it the Social Hunters for like a week, and I'm like, no, that sounds stupid. It sounds like we're after people's social, social
So
security
credit
numbers.
card.
Yeah. So we're like, no,
Let me
no,
hide my
no.
wallet. Hold on.
So we said, let's make it something powerful, something aggressive, right? And we're like marketing hunters, and we're like, yeah, that sounds really really good. And so from the marketing hunters, we had in for the kill, which was a hashtag. We turned it into a podcast, and from there we started developing this identity of like, we're aggressive, we're ambitious, we get results. Everything is pristine, everything is clean. And we didn't realize this, but people were doing business with us for that. But then we forgot that even though that's why they're doing business with us, there were other parts to it. So then we're like, okay, we're doing social media, but then we're like, no, no, no. What if we do branding instead? And we become very specific in what we do, in that people right now have a very hard time portraying their identity. They might be a speaker, but when it comes to social media, they just can't seem to align the two. And we're like, okay, we're young, we're millennials. That's our strength. Why don't we do that? We know the brand, we know the identity, we know the psychology. And so that's where we started really developing these identities for the company. For me, every time that I think and I feel lost, I'm like, what should I represent or what should I do? I just think, what would people want to see as far as a very clean identity that seems very real? And so therefore we think, okay, it has to be high quality, but we have to use these words so that we're still relatable. And so everything just kind of starts matching up together.
So, ladies and gentlemen, get out of your own ego. You're the brand. Think about what he's saying right now. One thing that I see a lot of times is that I truly believe, and I want to get your take on this because, ladies and gentlemen, Ruben knows what he's talking about, right? He has a lot of energy, a lot of wisdom, but he knows his marketing, his branding. I truly believe that you have to have a brand for yourself, the human being, the brand, a person, and then you got to have a brand for your business. What's your take on that?
I believe that that is true as well. A lesson that I had to learn a little bit later in my career, right? But the business, what's cool about the business is that your employees will share more of the business brand than they will your brand, right? Even though you can create the same video, post it on your personal stuff, and then the business one, because it is on the business one, your employees just they relate to it better. Especially if you get your employees to post it, to write the copy, to do everything, right? When you get your employees involved in the company, that will grow like a wildfire. Okay. Your personal one, though, will make you the most money, because the personal one is where they go, oh, cool, we have a company, right? And they charge $2,000. We'll pay them $2,000. We want to talk to Ruben. We want that special Ruben stuff, right? And so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it just went down to 3,000, like up 3,000, 4,000. Like I have time. It's not that I don't want to give you my time, right? But it just costs a little bit more. And so that's where I think people forget, that is that like we as a human gravitate more towards humans. So we funnel everything back to what our business is. We create different businesses. This one can only be one business. This person can create 5, 6 different businesses. Now you have a line over here while this person is over here. It's a beautiful thing, but you have to do it, right? And so I think that if you look from the top down, we can always see people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, everybody. They create a different brand at any point, and it's successful. The Kardashians, they create any brand and it's successful. It's
You
because
know
they
what
do
came to
it.
mind when you said that is Destiny's Child.
Yeah,
You had Destiny's Child, which was a big brand for the group, for the singers, but then Beyonce came out of it, and that brand, Beyonce, blew Destiny's Child, right? Beyonce sales
exactly.
are here by herself, but she was the brand, and when she embodied that, it just showed the power of embracing your brand. And
Yeah.
Not that I'm promoting Beyonce, but I'm just saying that's a great example of. But listen to that, ladies and gentlemen. You have a brand within the business, Destiny's Child, and then Beyonce came out of that, which was a bigger brand. And
Yeah.
maybe right now your business is struggling because this broke my heart. I was speaking to somebody earlier today, and I was just like, do another video. Well, no, I already did one. I don't believe this, but I want your take on this. I don't believe there's such a thing as overexposure. Hey, if you got the capacity to post 10 times a day in LinkedIn or wherever you are, do it. But posting once every 3 weeks is not going to get you the just the attention that you need. I'd rather have overexposure than being way underexposed. What's your thoughts on that, Ruben?
Yeah, so it's a fine balance. It's the same thing as everything else in life, right? There's a fine balance. And the only reason that there's balance is because of the algorithm, quote quote algorithm, right? And so what ends up happening is you can have a video that's taking off, right? Like that's just getting constant views, and the algorithm says, okay, you post another video, I'm going to kill both of them. I'm going to give more attention to the one you just posted versus the other one. But on the opposite end, like you said, if you take 3 weeks to post between other things, this one that's going viral could keep going in 3 weeks, right? Which most of them don't. Most of the stuff that you're posting right now is not going to go viral. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the viewer right now. It's not going to go viral. You're going to post 3 weeks, it's going to go dead, and you're not going to post for another 3 weeks. But let's say it is going viral. It's being shown to a different audience, not your audience. So therefore, if you don't post for another 3 weeks, your audience is not seeing anything. And so the greatest thing that we have right now that we didn't have 10, 20 years ago before social media is that if you wanted to stay in front of someone, you would have to send them an email every single day, or you would have to text them, or you'd have to call them, you'd have to stay in front of them. And so what's really cool right now is if you have somebody on Monday and you post it on Monday and your video dies by, let's say, Wednesday, let's just give it benefits of the doubt. On Thursday, you don't post anything, Friday, Saturday. What if the people that you're trying to reach are only on social media Thursday, Friday, Saturday? You just missed them.
Yeah.
And so it's because of that factor that you should be posting consistently, because you never know when your target person is going to be online.
I love it. Hold up your book real quick. I want to kind of give you a plug in with your book. What's the
Yeah.
name of your book right now? The Brand Sharks?
Brand Sharks. Yeah.
So they can get that right now on Amazon.
Yes, sir. Yep. Amazon.
So go get a copy of that. We'll put that in the show notes. So talking about brand sharks, what are the three biggest mistakes that you see in branding right now for entrepreneurship and business that need to be fixed?
People being afraid to show an entertaining, more real side of themselves. Everything, like especially business owners and corporations. Oh, professional, professional, professional. Professional is boring at this point. And so if you're gonna be professional all the time on social media, you're not gonna get the results, and then you can't blame the social media, right? So be okay with being a little bit more human, right? What's a second thing?
I love that though. Let's stay there because what my thing was, since I came from the automotive industry, I always wore suits in the car business. And then when I
Yeah,
came out, I think back to the first Sticker Shock Speaking Academy we had 3 years ago, and this was like, hey Daniel, this is really like has been on my mind bothering me. I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, well, I don't know what to wear. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah. I go, you just come in. I mean, you're coming to your speaking academy. Just bring a jacket or bring whatever you want to wear, and I mean, whatever you think you want to wear. Yeah, but you wear a suit, and I'm like, well, that's kind of my brand because
yeah,
I'm a corporate trainer, and but that's me. You can wear whatever you want to wear. But I've noticed, right, since I started over January will be 5 years that we've been in business. I don't really rock the suit anymore, and your brand's gonna evolve as time goes on.
exactly.
And I think that the people don't understand that. And I think, well, I can reach the corporate people, and I do think it's kind of not boring sometimes, but sometimes you got to mix it up. And now it's like when we come out with our Millionaire Mind brand, I'd rather wear a t-shirt and just some jeans, and it's like I feel comfortable with it because it takes me back to my Harley days.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. What do you say? Just wear what you feel comfortable with wearing, or whatever you. What comes to mind with that?
I would say think about it this way. If you like dancing, right, and there's a dancing trend, don't be afraid to do the dancing trend. I'm not saying make every single thing that you post out there, like you dancing or pranks or anything like that. But I'm saying don't be afraid to show your kid every so often, show your family every so often, right? People think that business is so corporate and therefore they can't take pictures and show the dog or something like that, or they can't, like, if you're a realtor, you can't show the ugly house that you just bought. It's like that's stuff that people want to see. They want to see that you actually bought an ugly house and renovated it, right? They only want to show the renovation. They don't want to show the actual disaster. And the thing is that most people are in disaster. They're not in renovation. So they want to know that you're like them.
Love that. And what's another mistake you see?
This is a big one. So most people with their brand, they choose to do ads and advertising and more traditional marketing, and they never focus on the actual brand. They think that the brand is a waste of money, or they don't invest in it. And so we have people like Alex Hormozy saying that he talked to billionaires, and one of the things that billionaires prioritize is brand now. And so you start thinking, okay, well, what's the actual ROI? Because there has to be an ROI in everything. The funny thing about branding is that the ROI is more of a sales tool for somebody who knows how to use it. And that's why we really work with people who know how to sell more than anything. Because if you don't know how to sell and you're looking us to do your branding so that way it becomes advertising, it just doesn't work that way. Branding basically allows you to, one, close deals faster. So you're not stuck in the sales cycle of like, hey, I just called you and then give me 7 days and I have to still do the 7 touches of sales, right? Where it's like, oh, I have to send an email and then I've talked about the ballpark and how the weather is today. And you're just trying to do anything to close them. And the second thing is it allows you to raise your prices. So if your competitor's at $1,000, right? And then they're like, oh, well, why don't you do it for $999? You come in and your price is actually $1,750. And they're like, oh, your competitor's $1,000, but I see that they don't do this and this, and I've seen you everywhere, and everybody's talking about you, and blah blah blah. So again, higher prices, they justify it themselves, and you close them on the first call. That's your ROI. And when you think of what that actually terms in, like saving time, and then also as far as your sales reps who don't actually follow up with anyone, what that actually converts into, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so that's what most people don't realize about the branding, is that as long as you know how to sell, don't look at your marketing or branding company to be your savior. You're your savior, right? At the end of the day, that's always going to be there. But if you know how to sell, oh my God, branding is the secret sauce that you've been missing.
That's so true, because I can tell you this is when I really embraced being a business coach, and when we came out with our show to fake coaching on LinkedIn, it was just our conversion rate was crazy. I would get 3 calls. People would book 3 appointments and we'd close 2 out of 3. And be like, they're like, yeah, don't you want to fill your calendar? It's like, I don't want to fill my calendar with just a bunch of, I don't want to, I mean, not to be ugly, but I want to have people that are ready to be helped, right? There's a difference between somebody being on my calendar just to shoot the shit as to somebody who's on my calendar that says, Daniel, I really need your help. There's a huge difference. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of businesses don't really take into consideration, is they just want their calendar full. No, if you're a coach or a trainer, whatever you want to call yourself, a consultant, you have to have your calendar full with quality opportunities that are ready to be helped.
Yeah.
So that really helped. And then when the Millionaire Mind came out, like just yesterday, we were talking before we came on live, I wasn't feeling good. And I just said, man, I got 2 calls. And this one guy I spoke in a summit, and he goes, man, I just heard what you said and you're my coach. And I'm like, what did I say? He was like, I said this. I said, great. I do that all the time. But he already knew the brand.
Yeah.
And he heard me speak, right? I validated the brand that I represent as being the brand owner. And he goes, let's do it. And I'm like, man, that was easy. But this is Ruben's point. When you have the skill set as the business owner and you train your sales team right, and then you have the branding right, I have seen this, Ruben, that I'm not chasing opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm attracting them.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first got my my
Does
sales
that make
guy,
sense?
John. Yeah. No, when I got my first sales guy, John, he's like, do we have case studies and do we have this and that? And I'm like, no, we don't actually, because I would never use them. I would get on the call with people and I'd be like, this is the price. And they're like, okay. And I was like, if I send you the invoice now, are you ready, or do you want to hold off? And I'd be like, no, you can send the invoice. I would send them the invoice, they would pay it. And it'd be the first time we got on the phone. And so I was like, there's something to this. And so that's the reality, is that it's true. Once you have the sales staff properly in place and you have the brand, it's easy for them.
Yeah, because the brand helps. The brand validates your voice and what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And when they see when they see Millionaire Mind now, it's like, never did I imagine. So, and just a point to what me and Ruben are talking about. You always hear this. We do book publishing now, Ruben, right? And when I remember my old publisher saying this, a book's never going to make you rich. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because if there wouldn't have been no Millionaire Mind book, there wouldn't have been no Millionaire Mind online course, there wouldn't be no Millionaire Mind bootcamp. But the thing is, I embraced the brand, even though I was skeptical at first, right? Just because people don't, I don't, there's always some resistance and pushback when you talk about money. But I embraced the fact that, I'm gonna take this and just run with it because this is who Daniel Gomez Inspires is.
Yeah.
And I want you to hear what Ruben's saying. When you get your messaging right, when you get your brand right, and you put it out there, the opportunities are going to be more. You're going to increase, and you're going to attract the right opportunities.
Yeah.
So what are you not attracting because you're not embracing the fact, A, that you're the brand, B, that you're scared to be on social media because you're the one posting once every month, and C, you haven't leveled up your communication skills and your sales skills for yourself and your team if you do have a sales team. I'm loving this conversation, man.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
So let me ask you this. Let's kind of take a turn to the side. How big has your faith been now in this season of your business? Because for me, when I was younger, you're just ambitious, go, go, go. You run over anybody because you don't know any better. That's what I was taught. But now, right, really, my model has changed from Daniel first, business second, family and God. And I'm just being totally real. Now it's like God, family, then business. How has your faith been a big part of what you're doing now in these last couple of years of business?
And faith is difficult when you don't know what to expect. Once you know what to expect, it becomes very, very easy, right? And the easiest way to attribute it is like well, because I had pink eye, right? If you have pink eye or you have bronchitis, and you've had it before, then for you to go, oh man, I have pink eye. God, why did you give me pink eye? Heal my pink eye right now, God. Heal it right now, right? Doesn't work that way. But we know that it's gonna be healed, right? Like we know start taking the antibiotics, we start taking the drops, we do the inhalers, it gets fixed. It's gonna take maybe a few days, it could take a few weeks, but you're gonna be fixed. And you know that. And so what really happens in business and what happens in people's lives is we expect it right away. Oh, I went to this conference. I expect money back right away. Right. And it's like, okay, well, my business is doing bad right now and I just lost 3 customers and half of our profit is gone. And I expect it right away. And you just start blaming, right? And just like, fix it now, God. Give me the sales now, God. I have no pipeline. Just have them come to me, God, right? And it doesn't work that way. And so I think that just as we become wiser, and if we can really look at the way that life works, because a lot of the times the proof is in the way that life works. We see, the examples of trees, right, that don't grow for 20 years and they sprout out of nowhere. When you start looking at the examples around life, nothing happens instantly. And if you have not, thrown your seeds and it starts raining, what good is the rain if there is no seeds? So it's like God can give you the rain, you never put the seeds. So you have to know that there is a lot of faith that's involved in this, but you also have to know what you have done, right? You can't just have blind faith either and just be like, everything's going to figure itself out. And then I just sit here in the room and keep doing the work for existing customers, hoping that I get more customers, right? So faith has definitely increased. And I think that with the results that you eventually see as an entrepreneur, your faith in everything grows, your faith in God, and just knowing that you are blessed. And I think I talked about that a little bit earlier. It's like you really have to look at your whole life and just know that you are blessed and see all the times that you should have not been blessed, and therefore you still were.
Yeah. So would you say your business has grown since you kind of started trusting more on God and less on Ruben?
Oh yeah, no, I in the especially just knowing that he's put the right people in my life, like I said. Eric Thomas not too long ago put out a video and he was talking about the me versus the we. And he's like, he's like, I burn out and I get tired. He's like, when I went from me to we don't burn out. We don't get tired. I feel like burning out. The team tells me not to burn out. I don't burn out anymore. So it's true. Like when you start relying more on God, you don't feel that pressure anymore, right? You don't feel that pressure of like, I'm going to fail. Cause it's like, if you have God, why would he want you to fail? Why would he see you fail? And so therefore it really alleviates a lot of the stress, the anxiety, the I'm not gonna make it. People are gonna see me as a failure, right? The business is gonna go under even though I did all this stuff, and then people are gonna call me out on it. It's like none of that matters anymore. Calm, peace.
I love that, brother. What is the best business advice that you received, and what is the best business advice that you give out?
The best business advice, believe it or not, that I received was something that I already knew. And what it made me realize is that you have to trust yourself more than you actually think. You start asking for people, and I'm not saying don't go ask for advice, right? Because you always want to be thankful and appreciative over the advice that you get. What I'm saying is that sometimes don't doubt yourself on the decisions that you're going to make, right? A lot of times you don't need outward um, validation when you should be validating yourself at some point. And so therefore you get to become a successful business owner, and you're still asking questions like, should I spend $5 on this? It's like, dude,
Yeah,
you need to start trusting in yourself. You need to start trusting in your expertise. And I think that it's really difficult for us to be able to trust ourselves in those moments. And if, to the point of what we were talking right before this, if you do need something, turn to God. I think something that you told me that I always think about a lot is, God, you say, and God told me to tell you. And so I started thinking, what is God trying to tell me right now? Right. And so whenever I see something, I'm like, is this really what I want to do? Or is it what God wants me to do? Is it like my actual purpose? And if it's not my actual purpose, then I'm like, okay, I have to really reassess everything that I'm about to do, because if it seems like I'm going against the grain, it's probably not what I'm meant to do.
I love that. That's powerful. What do you dish out as your best business advice?
What was that?
What's your best business advice to somebody?
Best business advice is, what does God want you to do? And if it's not what you think that you're about to do, then just don't do it. You're gonna pull your hair out. That's the number one reason for stress, is going against the grain.
Yeah, I tell you that's so true because people say, Daniel, like, where did this idea come from or that idea come from? I said, you know, it's spending time with God in the morning. The ideas just flow, and I write down what comes to my heart. And when I hear something, I just run with it, and I don't question it because I realize it's from the source, right? When I always say God is my source and God is my provider. So when it comes from my source, God, it just going back to the book, right? Going back to the boot camp. I mean, people don't realize when you have and you know this because you have events. Every event you put out, you're investing thousands up front before anybody even before you sell a ticket, and it takes faith, it takes courage to do
Yeah.
that. And so many people, wow, man, I want to grow my business, I want to do this, but yeah, are you taking the risk that you need to take and betting on yourself that you're going to fill that room? Because it's easy, right? It's most people never take that step because it takes a belief in yourself that you could put
Yeah.
in 20, 30, 100 people into a room. I'll never forget the biggest conference we had for business was back in right before COVID. We had like 135, 40, 140 people there. And it was crazy. It was amazing because it was like, wow, we did this. And it's like, once you do that, it's like, how can you not fill a room after COVID for 50 people? You can. And it's just, but I've learned, right? If you deal a higher quality product, right? If you deliver a higher quality product and you become more of a person of value, well, then you don't need that many people because they're buying your value now, and it has a higher value in the marketplace. So people pay more of that. And then killing yourself trying to sell a ticket that is just right. You sell 100 of those, and it's still like, man, I could sell one of these.
Yeah.
So I love what you're saying. What's next for Ruben, brother?
Public speaking is what's been calling me. And again, I was rushing into it more than anything. I was rushing into it, and then I realized that the business is growing really fast and that the business needs me. And so therefore it's more, and I was trying to do 50-50. And instead now I'm doing 90-10, because I have the team that I have to look out for, that I have to provide for, that depends on me. And it's funny because as I was trying to tackle, again, it's just so funny, man, the way that it all lines up, right? Like what is calling you versus what is it that you're trying to do? I go 90-10, more speaking opportunities are coming now versus when I was pursuing them. Super weird. But that's what's next for me. That's what's next for me is public speaking. I have two main things. People are calling for me on the marketing, and then I feel a higher power calling to me for leading Latinos. And I have a validation on both, and I'm letting itself figure itself out. But it's very interesting that people will tell you what you need to do, and then something internal will tell you what to do, and then you just let it kind of all sort itself out.
What's a quote or a scripture you rely on times of adversity?
So my favorite scripture has always been Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in God with all your heart. Lately though, with McGregor, I really liked, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. And I think that's part of the tribute to, if you're gonna do something, do it right, do it well, and do it to your full capacity. If you're able to live up to 100% of what you should be, then you should. And if you do that, I believe that is actually giving the most grace and honor to not only your family, but to God as well, right? Live up to to all the potential that he gave you, live up to that.
I love it. We're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
Yeah.
Ruben, baby. Boom. How do we get a hold of you, man?
Instagram has always been the easiest, at I am Ruben Alvarez. They can check out my website, rubenalvarez.com. We're going over some changes right now. And then pretty much my handle's the same on all of them. So whatever you prefer, I'm on each one, at I am Ruben Alvarez.
Ruben, what an amazing just time with you on the show. I love all the wisdom you shared. I think I love the quote, right? We're not here to take part, we're here to take over.
Yeah.
What are you doing half-fast, ladies and gentlemen? As you go back through your notes, what are you doing half-fast? I always say this in my sales training: shortcuts equal short paychecks. So when you take shortcuts, you just cut in your paycheck every single time you take a shortcut. So stop taking shortcuts. Man, I love you, brother. Thank you for being here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go to danielgomezglobal.com. That's danielgomezglobal.com. Do our free entrepreneurs assessment there, and we want to hear from you. We want to help you with that. And better yet, go to our website, the newest one, themakingsofamillionairemind.com. That's the makings with an S, themakingsofamillionairemind.com. Get our course. The Makings of a Millionaire Mind course has been significantly changing people's lives and radically changing their results. It's going to impact you. That's themakingsofamillionairemind.com. Our online course, we have it right now on sale for this coming new year. We want to help you. So go out there and get it right now. And we'll see you next week with another new guest here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Let's go.
Let's go.
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to danielgomezinspires.com and get your copy today. That's danielgomezinspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.